Yeah, free the land.
By any means necessary.
I
Free the
just want
man.
I just wanted to say that I was pretty old. I was in the 40 acre and a mule situation. Then the RNA came out with the reparation piece in the Declaration of Independence. And then Dr. Obadele had to fight the whole RNA leadership to deal with NCOBRA because he was the president and we didn't see any reason for
Make sure it's
a
working.
reparation study at that time. Those some of the other people that I knew, Reparation Ray and Dr. Joanne, been knowing her a long time. And some of those people kind of convinced us that we needed to participate. And I'm glad that we did. And we've done a lot of work. Because, you know, I'm on the security side. And sometimes I work with the youth, but mostly I'm into the security, internally and externally, of what's happening to our people. There's so many things I don't like what I see, but I'm proud of all these younger people that came on today with all of the passion. They talk about what they don't know, but it's the passion and the commitment is what's gonna get us through this thing. We can learn things from books, videos, but the passion and the commitment is what's gonna get us through it. So free the land.
Free the land, my brother, and turn up on your picture so we can see you. Thank you so very much, General Rashid X, the 99th signer of the Republic of New Africa Declaration of Independence. Go to Sister Azali, our youngest panelist here on this intergenerational panel.
Hi everyone, my name is Azali 48, as you guys know, and I'm 13 years old. I'm the youngest panelist here, and I am so honored to be with you all today. I am so glad that I get to be a part of this and a part of helping everybody to get reparations. And I truly do support reparations because one of our greatest things is our word, and we all should be reliable. And while we all work on that, we should really tackle the big stuff. So we should really be able to help each other and bring each other up. And one thing that would really help us all is our 40 acres and a mule.
All right.
Brother Sabeko, can you identify who the next youth is? Azali, you have touched my heart, my sister. I'm not quite sure whether Fire Rose Sanders or Queen Mother Mashariki is, or no, I'm not.
Dr. May Christian.
Yeah, Dr. May Christensen.
Okay.
Dr. May Christian.
Okay, good. So y'all go on, Dr. May Christensen. Are you connected to audio?
Am I connected? This is Fire.
Wait a minute. Hold on 1 second. I think I'm going to make Christian, but I can't hear her. So while she's getting her audio together, let me go to Fire Rose. Fire Rose, take it away 1 minute. And Sabeko, tell us, you let us know who the next youth will be. Go on.
Okay.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. I just first want to I thank everyone, especially Yomi. She spent so much time pulling this together. I'm sure she had the support of a lot of people, but being laid off her job and being challenged in so many ways, and being arrested with us. Now, I think we got arrested Tuesday together. In spite of being arrested, fighting for Black Lives Matter, she still stayed on course. And the first time I see my granddaughter in a week. So hello, Zali.
Hi, G-Rose.
I want to reaffirm what two of the speakers have said already. I heard a gentleman, I don't know his name, but he is an alderman. But I think what he said is critical. We got to take reparations to the street. I've been out today on two marches. I was in one in Montgomery with a march to free people in jails with this virus with Reverend Glasgow. And I came back to the Vote or Die campaign in the street. And I was with this young woman who was arrested for selling drugs, okay? And her children were taken away, but she's now in the community helping me with this Vote or Die campaign. And she gave me a report on how people are feeling. She's saying that the people in her neighborhood, and when I say her neighborhood, these are people that most likely will not be on a Zoom call, will not come to a reparations meeting, will not even come out to a Black Lives Matter rally. And I'm speaking to people in our community who have given up hope. And even though we talked about this is a Vote or Die campaign, literally, because we're dying from the virus, we're dying from guns, we're dying from guns in our community and guns with cops killing us. We're dying just about in every area of our lives in this country and throughout the world because of systemic racism and, of course, white supremacy. And because our people don't understand why they're suffering, they don't understand that the system is designed to keep them suffering. They've given up hope. One told me, I've given up hope. And the young woman that had been convicted for drug trafficking but has turned her life around has been helping me. And she said, when I came back from a rally in Montgomery, she was talking about how hard it was to convince people to give them back hope. Because she said, we've elected Black people to office and we are the first to be arrested. When she said we, she's not talking about Black people. She's talking about people in Black communities that have been forgotten by the Black middle class, and to some degree have been forgotten about organizations that are supposed to be serving all the people, because they don't come to the meetings, they don't come to rallies. They will come when someone is killed, like George Floyd. They'll come out of anger, and then they go back home.
Fire. We just introduce him right now so we can get.
Oh, you didn't tell me that. I thought this was, oh, I'm sorry.
But you know what, it's okay, because you're our latest political prisoner. I know you just got out of being unjustly held in jail. So all of our hats totally go out to you and to your.
Oh, but I'm sorry. I thought we were.
Not yet.
Yeah, we're gonna keep it going. We're gonna keep it going. I do not have everyone's age, so if you don't mind, Sister Lily X, if you don't mind going ahead and introducing yourself for us, please.
Okay, peace and blessings, family. My name is Sister Lily X. I am a member of NCOBRA and recently became the new female co-chair for the Youth Commission. So thank you for those of you who were with us last night. It was exciting. We were rocking out. And I'm just happy to be here today. I'm 28 years old, so I don't know if I'm the next youngest, but I'm gonna claim it. But I'm just happy to be here and very enthralled to see someone even younger than myself on this call who is ready to rock and roll for reparations. So I'm very excited to be here again with like-minded peers, along with my elders, along with my beloved sister Yomi. So I look forward to the dialogue. And I look forward to sharing more about my journey and activism for reparations. Peace.
All right. Thank you, my sister, and congratulations. And we're going to call on Queen Mother Marshalliki, and we're going to call her on the Queen Beautiful one, not the handsome young man that's her name as well. So the one that you and Marshalliki,
Sister Nkechi.
Yeah.
Sister Nkechi, I think Dr. Christian is available to speak now.
Oh. Okay, she's connected to audio. Okay, thank you very much.
She had her audio on and turned it off. She turned it off and then turned it on. All right, Dr. Christian.
1 minute introduction. Dr. Christian. Okay, I don't hear it.
She turned it off. All right.
Turn it back on, Dr. Christian.
Okay.
We all got these technology challenges.
Yes, we do. Go ahead. I'm texting her.
Okay.
Queen Mother, go on, and we'll come back to
okay. Dr. All right. I am Queen Mother Mashariki Jawanza. I live here in Indianapolis, Indiana. I have just been recently re-elected as the female co-chair of NCOBRA. I am very honored for that. I'm also honored to be here with all of you young people. I am married, have 5 children. I'm retired from the public school system. I have been in this struggle for well over 40 years. And a lot of that has been working on reparations, but more importantly, the liberation of our people. I am committed to that. I will be committed to that until I die. So I'm looking forward to the conversation.
All right, thank you, Mother Sabeko. Go ahead and tell who's gonna be next.
So yeah, again, I'm not going by age because I don't have everybody's age, but I'm a gentleman, so ladies first. So Sister Camila, if you don't mind, please go ahead and introducing yourself.
Yes, sure. Thanks, Sabeko. Hi, Nkechi. How are you?
Hey, sister, how you doing?
Good, good. Hi, everyone. I'm really pleased to be here. My name is Camila Moore, and I am a scholar, activist. Prior to law school, I went to UCLA, and I was the chair of the African Student Union. In law school, I wrote a thesis on reparations, and I've actually first learned about NCOBRA while I was doing research on reparations. And I found a book that Nkechi Taifa co-authored with Chokwe Lumumba and others named Reparations Yes, the Legal and Political Reasons Why New Africans, Black people in the United States should be paid now for the enslavement of our ancestors. And so that was such a gem to me when I found that book, and it really guided the research that I did for my thesis. So I'm just really pleased to be here and to give back.
Thank you. We're glad to have you. That was a back in the day book. Dr. Christensen, but Dr. Christian, are you back on volume?
No, I'm walking her through it now, Nkechi.
Walking where?
I'm walking her through it.
Oh, okay.
So keep going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Queen Joanne Watson. Oh, come on, talk to us. Let's get your 1 minute introduction.
Reverend Joanne Watson from Detroit, the home of Reparations Ray Jenkins and Congressman John Connors. Very happy to say that I am lifelong reparations, and I believe that intergenerational conversation about reparations is a key to our success. Ashe.
Ashe, 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 oh.
Let me get a brother up in here today. Brother Kumasi, are you ready to introduce yourself? All right, appreciate you.
Yes, revolutionary greetings from Montgomery, Alabama. Happy Black August, everybody. I'm glad to see everybody back on here again. Really important, really honored to be here once again. Really happy that you guys are making me recommit myself every day to the struggle. And I just want to raise an ancestor if I can really quickly, because I've been reading more and more about him. Jonathan Jackson, George Jackson's younger brother. So I just want to raise his spirit and hope that everybody who's as a youth on this call can get that energy and claim it.
Ashe.
All right, Ashe, my brother. Thank you so much. And oh my God, you see the youngest of the elders? I'm not quite sure. Brother Dr. Greg Card, come on, share with us. We're talking about, I'm telling you, he wrote the foreword to my upcoming memoir that's coming out, Black Power, Black Glory. I'm just so blessed. Oh, Dr. Card, give us a 1 minute introduction of yourself.
I appreciate you, sis, as one of my heroes. You know that. I mean, between you and Chokwe Lumumba and Alden Maddox, I feel like these are the revolutionary lawyers that shaped me for sure. So it's good to be with everybody. Greg Kamati Carr here in the DC area in Silver Spring. Like you, Sister Camila, when I was in law school, I read Reparations Now, Reparations Yes. I was in New York that summer. That's 1989, 1990. And Mario Bedelli's America, the Nation State. And so I went looking for them. So for the last 30 years, particularly in the area of education, because that was the pull for me. How do we expose more people, bring more people into conversations, working with Queen Mother Mashariki and Brother Kamal when they were at Indianapolis Public Schools, at the Attic School back in the early 90s. From there forward, it's just really been about education. It's a coalition building, chiefly through Association for the Study of Classical African Civilizations, Council of Black Institutions, Independent Black Institutions, Barbara Hannibal, and so many days, months, years spent learning and helping students come into this space. So I'm really here to take notes and to listen, because I'm looking forward to hear from everyone, particularly these young people. So thank you, Mama Queen Mother Nkechi Taifa. Gee, I love it. So and my little brother Sabeko, who was so I'm done. I see.
All right, let's keep it going. Brother James Ingram, I'll have you go a little bit later because you look so comfortable in that chair. So go ahead and introduce yourself for us, please.
First and foremost, I want to say I appreciate the opportunity to even be before you all. Second, I want to shout out all the ancestors that have fought before us, and I want to shout out all the advocates and organizations that are putting forth us, especially NCOBRA. I just recently signed up with NCOBRA to become a member. I also am former student body president at Los Angeles City College. I'm a senior at the University of Southern California, currently majoring in political science and minoring in organizational leadership and management. I'm just here to learn and to express how I can help with the tug of war of reparations, as you will.
All right, Dr. Christian, are you on audio for us now? Can we hear you? Did we get the techie stuff worked out yet so we can hear a little bit from you, your 1-minute introduction? Okay, throwing it back to you, Brother Sabeko.
Who do we have left? Is it Sister Henry? That's all I see on my screen right now.
The panelists, did we miss any other than?
Yeah, that's all I see real quick. So
panelists. Okay, well, let's get this ball rolling. Right. You know, I've been at this, I was there, yes, oh my God. The youth extravaganza, I'll just call it, that was yesterday. It was like a 3-hour power pack, just jam-packed of information with some of the youth who were here and other youth. I was just totally and completely blown away. In fact, I put in the chat, I'm ready to retire. I mean, you know, because they got it. These young people, what the young, dumb, dim got, whatever y'all say, they got it.
What the youth them say?
What the youth them say? Yeah, what the youth them say? So, Sabeko, I have a question for the elders to get to the youth. Do you have a question that you want to formulate for the youth, to the elders? I'm going to tell the elders question now so you can ruminate on it, and you think of the one for the youth. And for the elders, I really want to know what wisdom you would give from your perch as an elder to the next generation in terms of them continuing or carrying on the struggle or finding their destiny within this burgeoning reparations movement. So what would be your words of wisdom and advice? And Sabeko, what would you have for the youth? And let's go youth elder again.
Okay. For the youth, just think about right now, what do you think reparations means? Like, what is the actual meaning for you? And let's just start with the basics in terms of what is it that you think about when you think about reparations and what that means to our people.
That sounds great. And I think we should start with the youth about what reparations means to them. And I'll let you go and do the calling for the youth, Brother Sabeko. I like that. What does reparations mean to you?
Well, let me go ahead and call on our newly appointed co-chair for our youth, Sister Lily X. Go ahead and hit us off right with why you became that co-chair and what you think the youth gonna say.
Okay, that sounds good. So, I mean, I know that the day one of the conference, we went through the actual definition of reparations. And one of those definitions, the one that stuck out to me the most was to repair. And I would go further to say to restore. And I believe that what we are repairing and restoring are the past injustices and harms that have been systematically and intentionally set up against us. And not only us in present day, but our ancestors. And then in my position as someone who is leaving out of my youth age and moving into my young adult, full adult years, I'm really starting to see the systematic attacks through policy and plans and zoning and things like that in the school system to further hinder the peers that are and mentees that are coming after me. And so when I've been thinking about, okay, how do I approach reparations? How do I even begin to strategize or build out a advocacy campaign that not only would be feasible for myself, but feasible for my community in kind of an expedited way? Because as many people have stated repeatedly, we're not waiting anymore. I mean, this is something that is long overdue. So, is HR 40 and SB 1083, we have those on the books. We have a commission now. Well, we are pushing to get a commission that will do the study, but it's like, at least I know when I talk to my peers, we are not looking for a study that is now going to drag on 5, another 10 years. You know, we are looking for our reparations, and we're looking for our reparations now. And we don't only want to see that in the form of monetary money, because that's not the only form of repair that is necessary. Yes, absolutely, we need to be repaired financially as a people, as a Pan-African people across the globe, because as we know, I mean, we are one of the only people left in the world, besides other indigenous populations that have been colonized, that have received $0. I know there was a panelist yesterday that was going through, you know, the various reparations that Japanese Americans got, that Native Americans. We can't seem to get our reparations. One of, I can't remember who it was on the call, but one of my peers on the youth call yesterday specifically brought up the fact that the reason that we can't get our reparations is because they're not done using us. They're not done abusing us. They're still exploiting us. They're still using our culture and taking everything that is supposed to be necessary for us to build as a people and leave a cultural legacy for ourselves. They're taking that and again, just mining it for their own instant gratification at the expense of us. And again, continually just through the criminal justice system, the school to prison pipeline, and just various low paying wages. There's absolutely no reason that the minimum wage is under $15, let alone something between $7.25 or $7.75. I mean, I had one person trying to argue that extra 50 cents with me. And I was like, to be honest, as a Pan-African child, that 50 cents doesn't really matter to me, because we are owed trillions. We're owed something over $16.5 trillion. And so I'm no longer looking to strategize how we are going to get those. I'm looking to strategize the budget of when we will get that and how much everyone will be getting, and not within the next 10 years, today.
All right, thank you very much for that. Please keep in mind, I believe we have about 8 minutes before Judge Mathis is supposed to come on. And so I know we're going to go to this next question, but I want to make sure everybody keeps in mind our time frame right now.
And I'd like to know if Dr. Christian, has your audio come on board yet? Are you able to talk to us now?
Wait a minute, I'm bringing her up now. I got her in. Hold on, she's coming. I mean, you keep moving, but she's coming.
Okay, so I'm not going to put any of the elders on the spot. You let me know who wants to be the first one to answer the question dealing with words of wisdom for the next generation. Who wants to?
This is Mashariki. Oh, go ahead.
Who said I do? I can't tell.
Fire.
Oh, Fire. Okay, Fire, take it away. Fire Rosen.
Click the camera.
I think they have to learn from our mistakes. And one of the biggest mistakes we made, and I'm not just talking about reparations, I'm talking about the civil rights movement. Of course, the Black Panther movement did not, and SNCC did not make these mistakes, but they literally destroyed those organizations. And once they dismantled and destroyed them, we stopped doing really grassroots organizing. We really stopped going to where the masses live, where they where they play, where they suffer. And I think the biggest, until we get back into the communities that many of us have abandoned, not intentionally, but we have abandoned them in terms of bringing them and organizing them, insisting that the
all right.
We make
Can
sure
you hear
all panelists are muting if you're not talking. Mute yourself if you're not talking. Go on, Fire.
Again, I think the biggest mistake we made is we stopped organizing in the communities. SNCC was door-to-door organizing, living with the people, teaching the people, freedom houses on a daily basis. We no longer do that. Most of our people don't know anything about reparations. They don't even know about the horrors of slavery. They certainly don't know that we had a great history of going back 5,000 years before slavery. A lot of our people don't know anything. And until we have our freedom schools, until we invade public schools with our presence, insisting on after schools to teach our children their history, and they have a right to reparations. So that's what I would say. As I was talking earlier, a woman that had been guilty of drug trafficking, she's no longer that. I've recruited her as a community organizer. And she was out today and she said, Fire, the people in my neighborhood have given up on voting. They think that this is as much as they can get out of life. And that hopelessness has set in. They're not coming to no reparations conference, no NAACP conference, but we have to go to where they are. And until we're that, and I think one of your speakers said that, taking reparations to the street. The second thing, that we have to have people who believe in reparations with deep consciousness to run for political office. Because we have a lot of people, when I was arrested, what hurt me is that I was Yomi and another young man on the phone. We were arrested in a city with a black mayor, a black police chief, and treated inhumanely, strip search. So we elected people to office who have no consciousness. So the second advice is, prepare yourself like the other sister from Michigan. She is not only she ran for office, she's winning, and she's in a position of power to change things. So that's my two things: door-to-door community organizing, living with the people, organizing the people, empowering them to empower themselves and running for political office, and teaching our children that history did not begin with slavery, and that what we want to restore is the greatness of ancient Africa and Timbuktu.
Thank you very much. I want to throw it to Brother James, and remember, we probably only got about 4 minutes left until Judge Mathis gets on.
He's
But Brother
on.
James.
Excuse me, Judge Mathis is already here.
Oh, he's here.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm to introduce him at 7:12. And
7:12.
Yeah.
1 minute.
Okay. Well, what we're gonna do is just go ahead and I don't want to limit anybody to a minute for this type of conversation, so we're gonna get right into this. Here comes the judge. Here comes the judge.
When you see
Judge
the name
Mathis.
Stacy Leak,
Here comes the judge.
let me let the technician know. When you see the name Stacy Leak, that's Judge Greg Mathis.
Oh.
Stacy Leak is up and is ready to go. So it is 7:12. So now we're going to switch on over. Please go ahead and introduce Judge Mathis.
I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair.
Well, he's the judge.
He's the
I
judge.
don't care. I mean, one thing I'm talking about is making sure that we're talking about justice. You introduce people to speak, at least give them a minute. You introduce the panel. One thing that we have to do is recognize that all of us are valuable, whether or not we are judged or not. And so I just think that the people that you would introduce to speak should at least get at least a minute to I had my minute.
But
And
Mama Fire, we
that-
have time after the judge.
We're going to continue after the judge.
We're going to continue after the judge. His time, this was his scheduled time, and it's a limited time, but our conversation will continue.
That's that revolutionary lawyer. Y'all know Fire Rose.
Attorney at war. Hey,
That's
Marcus. All right,
Okay.
Mama Joanne.
It is my honor and privilege to introduce my great friend, a hero to many of us, the Honorable Judge Greg Mathis. Judge Greg Mathis has served not only Detroit, but this nation. He is nationally recognized because of his very well celebrated, everybody knows the Judge Mathis show, right? Judge Greg Mathis has represented the people. He represents this community. He has a community center in Detroit that does not receive any funding from the government. He pays for it out of his own pocket. It takes a huge building with wonderful resources, feeding, educating, training, providing a warehouse of talent and everybody else. Last year in Detroit, and
The sound was choppy. We kind of missed a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, well, let me go straight to Judge Greg Mathis.
All
Judge
right.
Greg Mathis.
Woo.
So, Judge, unmute yourself.
Yes, I assume everyone can see me.
No,
Can hear you, but can't see you.
All right, let me work on it again. How about now?
Hey, all right.
Somebody was about to go to jail. I didn't know who, but let me get it right. But let me thank Queen Mother Watson for such a gracious introduction. I have worked under her tutelage in the reparations movement for nearly 3 decades. So I'm proud to once again engage the organization that I'm so proudly a member of. And to all of my elders and the young people who are involved, we thank you, Sister Mother, Queen Mother Kwanzaa. Thank you for being a friend and always being supportive. I'm going to get right to it. You know, lawyers are long-winded naturally. So today I'm going to be naturally short so that I don't hold the conference up. But I wanted to begin by making reference to a recent evaluation of the uprising in many cities. There's been a study, a recent study by a commission, and it said that after visiting the cities that had experienced the uprising and speaking to witnesses of those events and consulting with experts nationwide, the commission concluded that white racism is essentially responsible for the explosive mixture which has been accumulating in our cities. The report discussed the critical role that poverty plays, caused by segregation and a lack of access to adequate housing, education, and employment opportunities. They talk about the role that in the uprisings, it also identified the role of police officers have played in those racial disorders, declaring that the police are not merely a spark factor. To some Blacks, police have come to symbolize white power, white racism, white supremacy, and white repression. And the fact is that many police do not reflect and express these white attitudes, but the fact is that many police do reflect and express these white attitudes. I'm reading because it's from a study. The atmosphere of hostility and cynicism is reinforced by widespread belief among Black folks in the existence of police brutality in a double standard of justice and protection, one for Blacks and one for whites. The commission condemned moves to equip police departments with mass destruction weapons, such as automatic rifles, machine guns, and tanks, weapons which are designed to destroy, not to control, that have no place in densely populated urban communities. Well, the panel listed a couple of the troubles that were endured disproportionately, or many, by the African American community: a shortage of jobs, inadequate education, a persistence of discrimination and harsh police tactics, police violence against people of color. The commission said incited the uprising more than any other factor. I'll repeat, police violence against people of color, the commission said, incited the uprisings more than any other factor. That study was the Kerner Commission some 50 years ago. Clearly, same circumstance we face today. And so it is that our struggle is not a new one. It's a struggle that keeps going around and around and around. And it is our turn and our time to stop that circle, stop that cycle, and interrupt to make sure that our voices are being heard and that we'll have the real success that we've sought for so many years, that being the reparation for the damages that were done to our folks. And as a lawyer, people keep asking me, well, how do you determine whether rich folks get reparations? How do you determine, Judge, whether you're going to get any, whether your children are going to get any, whether your grandchildren are going to get any? I'm sure you have a trust for your grandchildren. I'm sure this, I'm sure that. All your buddies, should they get money as well? Well, the fact is, as a lawyer, I can tell you, and as a judge, I can tell you that restitution isn't income-based, nor is damages for a judgment. When there's been a judgment of damages, it's not, they don't say we're going to award you for the arm that you lost based on the income that you make. No, everybody is, because of the damages that were done. And that's where our fight lies. But you know, the reality is that that 2020 study in many ways still exists the popular notion among many of us that the wealth gap between Black folks and white folks could be caused by some and resolved by some collective let's get it together effort by Black folks. You know, we're always hearing that this pathology we hear about, and that Black folks need to keep their families together and invest in their communities, and the dollar only turns over one time in our community and 7 times in every other community. Invest in Black banks, invest in entrepreneurship, get married, teach your children to behave, take them to church, take them to school, and make sure they do their homework. All of those have been the solutions that others have suggested that we take heed to and that we use as a source of upward mobility. However, the fact is that although we are told to focus more on education, more on family structure, home ownership, a route to equity, and that's how you close the gap, and the many others, the fact is, evidenced by decades of reporting from the Federal Reserve System, the United States Department of Labor, the United States Department of Commerce, and various other academic studies, is that the wealth gap is a product of centuries of slavery, inequality, and racism that has grown too large. It has grown too large to be impacted significantly by individual actions, achievements, or choices. Meaning we could stay in school 24 hours, 7 days a week. We can have the most pristine family, most highly educated, high values in church 6 days a week. All of that, own a home, get a quality education, as I just stated, and many of the things that have been suggested. Put all that together and we still will not achieve parity and equity with white America. And so it is that the myths that we've been taught about how to close the wealth gap are indeed that. They're myths. Black households in the United States with heads of homes who have completed a college degree. This is the education point. Those who have completed a college education have lower net worth than a white household headed by someone with less than a high school education. I repeat, a household headed by African American with a college degree has less net worth than a white household headed by someone with less than a high school education. This is a study by the Cook Center of Social Equity. This isn't something I'm just making up. I'm a judge. I have to prove my case. And so these are the impediments to our success and our growth over the years. Remember the report I referred to, the Kerner Commission, which we're all familiar with. That was nearly 50 years ago. And certainly we've employed many of these approaches to how we're going to address the disparities in the wealth gap. You know, rather than home ownership, which is what we're told would increase our wealth, the fact is having family wealth in the first place leads to the home, leads to home ownership, particularly among high equity home ownership. You know, we always talk about investing in a home, and that's the way we will accomplish equality in wealth. 10 times, white wealth is 10 times that of black wealth because of home ownership and equity in their home. Well, the fact is that many of those housing programs that have been designated for low-income folks, they're able to secure mortgages that non-white low-income for generations they've been able to obtain mortgages, while Black families are often and continue to be denied the bank loans outright or have to accept predatory loans at extreme interest rates, which once again throws us into debt rather than closing the wealth gap. And then we hear about the individual accomplishments of some of those whom have achieved exceptionally personal opportunity to excel and to lead. We know we have the Oprah Winfreys of the world. We know we have even the Barack Obamas, the President Barack Obamas of the world. We know we have the Michael Jordans of the world, the Bob Johnsons of the world. Well, the fact is, the racial wealth gap in the United States, in light of all of those accomplishments, it has widened instead of closing, as it has for those whom we have singled out as the most prosperous in our society. And so the data shows that over the last 30 years, even as individual Black Americans have seen increased success, the overall wealth gap, as I've said, has widened. And so the wealth gap, what does that mean? Well, all the suggestions that have been made are being whittled away as I speak. Now let's look at investing in Black banks, which certainly we all advocate and want to see done, and most of us do so in some respects or another, whether it's one account or whether it's all your accounts. Most of us give a little action, if you will, to our brothers at the Black banks. And the fact is, unfortunately, it would take just under 30 years of every dollar earned by all of the Black-owned businesses invested in Black-owned banks for their assets to surpass those held by one bank in the first quarter of 1 year. All of our Black business deposits into Black banks, the assets will not surpass the asset of one bank, mainstream American bank, JP Morgan Chase, one bank in 1 quarter. So once again, we see a challenge that won't allow us to escape our circumstance by going to Black banks. Certainly will help our community. Certainly we'll be able to help fund homes and provide loans for startup businesses for some of our community. But for the masses of our people, the banks will not have enough, our banks, if we make all of our deposits to loan enough to change our condition. Then we have entrepreneurship. Well, African Americans' attempts at entrepreneurship are often foiled by an initial lack of capital and an inability to obtain financing, especially through any of the government programs. Try calling SBA or going down there and asking for anything above $10,000 and see how that works out for you. But you send your white counterpart in there with no collateral, with not much business experience, and they ask for $100,000, let alone 10. They'll be accepted with open arms in many instances. And so Black entrepreneurship has never really provided the amount of business activity that we need. Because the reality check is a review of the national and regional studies after several decades indicates that limited financial, human, and social capital, as well as racial discrimination, are primarily responsible for the disparities in minority business performance. A 2017 report from the Department of Commerce Minority Business Development Agency finds. Add into that, study doesn't tell us that, and we don't need a study to tell us, But if we add in the fact that as a result of that self-hate, we were programmed for 300 years, the consequences of that self-hate has led many of our Black consumers to think that somehow the ice in a white business is hotter than is colder than the ice in the Black business. In fact, I would venture to say, and I know of this because someone expressed this to me, and I appealed to their logic. But they told me, I'm never going to another Black auto dealer or Black auto repair ever. Why? Because they did me wrong and they messed up my car. Later, how did the white car repair do you? They didn't do a great job. I have to take it somewhere else. Where did you take it? Take it back to the Black businessman? Did you find another Black auto repair? Oh no, I ain't dealing with Black folks no more. I'm going to another white shop. So instead of, they won't even give ourselves, we won't give ourselves a second chance. We'll give white America several chances. We're so willing to forgive white America, but won't forgive ourselves or our people. And that self-hate continues to be a block to our uprising and our progress. And then lastly, the breakdown of the Black family we hear so much about, and the disorganization of the Black family. These explanations tend to confuse the consequences and cause, and are largely driven by claims that if Blacks changed their behavior, they would see marked increases in wealth accumulation. Well, the cause is economic deprivation, not our behavior. The cause is racist oppression, not our behavior. The cause is not family breakdown because Black men don't want to be fathers to their children or husbands to their wives. The breakdown is because Black men whom have been subjected to economic deprivation and whom have been set up in this society, in Western civilization, as the provider of families. That's the model that we've created for Western civilization and thereby our community. That if you're the man of the house, if you're the husband, if you're the leader, then you have to also be the provider. But isn't it very, very wicked? It is a wicked analogy to place on the people when you won't hire the very Black man that you tell must be the provider for his family. You know, so it is that economic deprivation that drives families into poverty, and the man, as a result of that pain of poverty, reaches out to drugs and alcohol to try and douse that pain. As a result, he ultimately leaves his family. And in some instances, it's the stress he runs from. He runs, even if it's not drugs or alcohol, he's running from the stress of a wife, of a mother, of a girlfriend who has expectations that have been set by Western civilization, telling him he should be the provider, yet denying him the opportunity to do so, using the excuses, of course, in economic deprivation of we're angry on the job, we're criminals, we're ready to fight, always looking at our women. Oh yeah, those are some of the things that are said, and you know the judge is gonna be real with you. And the fact is, some of our women are hired because they rather look than to have us look. I'm gonna leave that alone. All right, so as I close, the racial wealth gap among women and families is upheld in large part by intergenerational transfers, like financing a college education by a family that can do so without loans or grants, providing help with the down payment on a house as I have done with my children, because it is intergenerational transfer. So certainly the majority of white America has done the same. And down payment on a gifts of other types. And so these purchasing patterns, Black banking, entrepreneurship, will not close the wealth gap. Indeed, it appears that we've been right for about 31 years. NCOBRA has known that to close the wealth gap, that we must receive the reparation that created this gap in wealth, the real transfer of wealth. The greatest transfer of wealth in the history of America was slavery. When we hear about this criticism of socialism or neo-socialism or too progressive economic policy, will it result in a transfer of wealth? Is that what you're asking for? Are you asking for a transfer of wealth? Yes, we're asking for the transfer of wealth back to those who have created the wealth for you. And so the good news is that 50 years after the brash, bold Black Power movement led by our youth, the ones we were talking about earlier, the Black Panthers were led by youth. Many of the others were led by youth. SNCC was led by youth. And so our challenge, once again, some 50 years later, is to make sure we coalesce with the youth who are now motivated and seeking a fight for reparations. We know that we have HR 40 here, and we know that the momentum is there for us to continue, and we hope to have it passed in Congress, HR 40, within the next 6 months. Well, that'd be a great thing. On the other hand, we must get those who are ready to fight alongside of us, who have the courage to even fight beyond HR 40. And I believe after what we've seen with Black Lives Matter, Change.org, The Color of Change, many other organizations, the youth division of the NAACP, where I started my career in college, the youth division of the Urban League, Young Professionals, the youth division of NCOBRA. I think if we coalesce and begin to lead from behind, quite frankly, I think our youth are prepared and ready and motivated. Certainly, we are there and will always be there to give our help, our counsel, and our direction to the young people who are looking to fight a struggle that certainly is coming to a head in closing the wealth gap in a real way. But let's be careful and let's not be confused. HR 40 will make it through Congress at some time in the near future. But the issue is whether it will make it through the US Senate. And I doubt that will happen. And quite frankly, I doubt that I don't think that many of the Democrats, I don't think that our presidential candidate, who I do support, Biden, I don't think any of them believe that it will pass the United States Senate. And so in a real way, this is a cruel trick. And it's almost like three-card model. You know that you're gonna pass it over here, but it's not gonna pass over there. So in the meantime, we'll continue to promise you something that we know we're unable to deliver. Well, young folks and those not so young, there's another route that we can take. The question is, when do we want to pursue it? And that is an executive order from the next president of the United States. The presumption is it will be Biden. And perhaps if we let that be our ask immediately, perhaps his candidacy will move toward an executive order, knowing how much they depend on our vote. On the other hand, there's the concern that it will dishearten many of our people from voting if there is not an immediate commitment to an executive order by the next president for a commission to be set up to study reparations. And so that is for great minds such as yourselves to determine. You all are going to have to be the judge. Do we seek an executive order at all to circumvent that U.S. Senate excuse we're about to get within the next 12 months? Because even if we take over the Senate, you need 60 votes, and that's going to require Republican votes. And so we're going to have to make sure that they don't circumvent our objectives with that. And so the question becomes, do we wait until November 4th or 5th to begin to ask for that executive order from whom we think will be a victorious Democratic president? Or is it that we start now? We'll still have 2018. They're going to have to come back to us. So even if we start November 5th and we don't get it, I'm sorry, 22. Even if we start, it'll happen like it did in 18, like we took over the Congress. This time it'll be a little different if we don't get our demands met by 2022. So that is what I'm suggesting. I think that the time is now. Our time has come, as Reverend said. I take it a little further, Reverend Jackson, that is, and say our time is now. We have to know what to ask for, and we have to know how to get it. Thank you all for listening, and God bless you all.
So thank you very much, Greg.
Ashe, ashe.
Oh my God. Judge Greg Mathis, you've given us some food for thoughts. I think there are people on both sides of that proffer that you've made, but that's what NCOBRA is all about, is putting things on the table and letting us decide and analyze and weigh the pros and cons and the like. So thank you for your words. And I'm gonna turn it over to my co-moderator. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Mathis. Appreciate that. I'm gonna kick it back to Brother James. Brother James, I understand you have an organization, Reparations Matter, and I want to make sure that we start understanding from our generation what it takes to really get the word out, but what really reparations means to our young people. So can you give me an understanding of what you think it takes for us to get the word out to young people about reparations and how to get them on board with this fight?
Yeah, so Dr. Malana Karenga had mentioned that the first two steps is education and mobilization. And with that, Reparations Matter, what we do is we try to inform the public, because a lot of people feel like, it was mentioned earlier, they're hopeless. They don't think reparations actually can happen. And what we do is try to give out the latest news, the latest legislations, the latest advocates, everything that you could possibly think of, events, and we try to put the information out there so that people can see the ball is actually rolling. And I want to make the comparison in a way to the LGBTQ movement when it came to legal marriage. It happened at first in cities and states before it got to a federal level. And one thing I think that is important is when we consider reparations in all factions, we talk about city level, state level, and federal level. The federal level will be pressured once they start seeing, what I believe is once they start seeing the cities and states actually moving forward with it, the federal level will actually be a little pressure. So we're trying to get everybody to understand that it's actually moving forward, and trying to get people educated on why they're deserved.
Okay, so let me just say this, and then this is for Judge Mathis as well, and hopefully you can stay because you're an elder as well. This is our intergenerational conversation. HR 40, after languishing for 30 years, now has 141 co-sponsors. And believe it or not, in the Senate, it now has, I think, 16, co-sponsors. Never would I have thought that we would be in a situation that we're in now, because of the movement in the streets is causing things to happen up there in the suites. So Judge Mathis, I don't know what's going to happen. I do know, I might be wrong, but I think, I'm not quite sure, you can educate me. I think an executive order could be rescinded should another president come in office. I'm not sure what that would mean, but again, I think all issues are on the table. But I want to turn it over to our elders now in terms of the question on the table for you all was what words of wisdom you want to give to the youth. But I'm not want to limit it to that. Anything you want to say, and you can end up with whatever your word of wisdom is. Which elder wants to go on and go next?
Well, let me say with regard to an executive order being rescinded, I would hope that in the first term, within 4 years, we can get an executive order and impanel a commission. Otherwise, we're in real trouble. And the other concern is that we saw this movie. We saw that. That's why it began with a commission that was launched 50 years ago. And what happened with that commission that was launched and impaneled by the Democratic president, whom had supported and successfully gotten legislation passed for the Civil Rights Act and later the Voting Rights Act? He impaneled the commission, this great Democrat, and he did many things to empower the poor and to a certain extent, African Americans, certainly. And what happened with that report? Well, some folks don't even recognize when I'm reading that report because it was buried. It was never announced by President Lyndon Johnson. The results were never given. The conclusion was never spoke upon. He never even acknowledged he had received a conclusion. Thank God that it was printed and over 2 million copies were made and purchased. And so we have to make sure, we got to keep our hand on the paddle, our foot on the paddle in every way that we can. And certainly.
And that's the beauty. That's the beauty of NCOBRA right now, because it was NCOBRA with the National African American Reparations Commission to make sure that it was not just a study commission that would just come up with a report. It is a commission now that is specifically to develop actual proposals before the Congress. So we've advanced from where we were